Hi, I'm Ricky Novak. I'm committed to helping good people become great leaders in good times and, well, in not so good times. I'm in conversation today with 4 trusted colleagues who share my passion for excellence. Excellence in helping us all now renew and reinvent ourselves going forward so we can cumulatively conquer the crisis. You may have noticed things have changed. In fact, not only in our own industries, but in every industry that we're tapping into. In conversation today, I'd like to explore some of the great ways in which we can help you uncover some ideas creatively to engage not only your own customers, but to re-engage with the passion and vigour and the energy that you have for the business that you spend most of your time thinking about and doing. Let me take a moment and just share from my perspective that I believe creativity now is going to be our gift. It's a gift for us to reinvent and renew and extend ourselves in ways that we perhaps didn't give ourselves permission in the past, and perhaps didn't even give people in our teams permission to extend themselves. So as we uncover the next 30 minutes or so with my colleagues, I'd like you to take a minute and reflect on how you can become more creative and share back with your colleagues and share back with us individually or collectively some of the key things that are going to be working for you. So before we do that, let's take a moment and start the creative process by putting on our own oxygen mask first. Take a deep breath, get ready, and think about this is time for you. So you might like to take some notes or just absorb the information. I'd like to introduce Brad Tonini. Brad is a sales strategist. He has worked with Australia's and international clients in the area of sales strategy, creating a really strong sales culture. He transforms organisations and salespeople into trusted advisors. Hi, Brad.
G'day, Ricky. Good to be with you.
With you too. Clifton Warren, sitting there with a city backdrop behind you. You're providing growth solutions for financial services, for accounting, for insurance, and for people who really understand the financial world. So I look forward to hearing your creative side of where we're going forward. Nice to see you, Clifton. Tom Verghese consults, writes and speaks on the topics of cultural intelligence, global leadership, diversity and inclusion. And if not now, when, Tom? Because it's all up for grabs and it's all up to us. And Ray, it's interesting now that in your field, in efficiency, how much more opportunity is there for us now to really drive home results, and the way in which you help organisations improve organisational efficiency helps us to all and your clients to assess how well they're going. And I look forward to hearing all about that. So let's start with you, Brad. What's happening in sales now? Can we sell? Is now a good time? What do we need to do creatively?
What a great question. It's a question I'm getting asked a lot at the moment, Ricky, is, can you sell when no one's buying? And this is essentially I think the situation we're in, where we've had a period of acclimatisation. People are getting themselves organised, working from home. Businesses are going through a shift. Some people are not around in sales teams right now. You know, they've either got a long break or they've moved out of the sales team and no longer have a job. So things are changing. And what that means is that I think that we're not going for the sale. What we're trying to do is we're trying to develop and nurture relationships. There's never been a better time, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if you found the same thing, Ricky, but talking to people who you haven't spoken to for a while, catching up with old clients, lapsed clients, people who have been on your radar for some time, they're taking emails, they're taking phone calls right now. As long as you have one thing on your mind, that is, how can I be of service to my clients and prospects? How can I help them in any way by being there and being available to them, rather than how can I make a sale? Now, if you come from that point of view, I think you've got every opportunity of coming out the other side in what I call the upturn and be well positioned to actually run a very successful sales business.
So Brad, when you've made the call, and I'm sure you're making calls to your clients, current ones and not so recent, and then way back when you started your business, what's been the difference in the type of conversations you've had with current clients versus more, older clients?
Well, I think you look at the rapport building phase in a phone call or a face-to-face meeting. Let's face it, rapport is pretty easy to get because you're actually talking about a common issue that everyone's got. In a lot of sales teams, salespeople say to me, how do I start a conversation? What questions do I ask? Right now, it's pretty easy. You just get into the conversation about what's going on. And we all understand that we're in the same situation to a certain extent. So we're on the same page in a lot of ways. But I think in terms of where the conversation goes, I see that we're sort of going through 3 phases in some ways. We're looking at this whole acclimatization, then innovation, if you like, and then activation. In other words, at the end of the day, we need to be activating as we move along the track and move back to full strength, whenever that'll be. But we need to innovate right now. And a lot of sales teams I'm working with are thinking about how they can innovate their sales process, how they can review what they've been doing in the past, how they can look at how they get more referrals when they come out of this, how they change their languaging. There's a lot of things you can get to work on right now that are innovative processes that mean that you can hit the ground running when you start to see things change. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity in some ways to really dig deep. Look at the client relationships, look at your innovation in terms of your processes, make some changes, build your database, develop new context through somewhere like LinkedIn and develop great connections. I mean, there's so many things you can do right now. There's no reason why anyone should be sitting there thinking, oh, well, I can't sell right now. There's tons of things we can work on.
So that, to me, that there's a feeling it could be of overload. There are so many things that one could be doing in this sales process. Can you just go back to those 3 really good points that you said what we could be doing, and give me a sense of containment, because sometimes with all of these changes, there's a sense of overwhelm. Like, what should I be doing first? And can you just run through those 3 points again for me? I think
at the end of this sort of acclimatization phase, which I believe we're in now, it's about organization, Ricky. It's about actually understanding you've got to have a schedule. It's about the fact that you've actually got to work certain projects and make them a priority. Things like CRM, things like LinkedIn, things like getting your database under control, things like sales process around referrals, building great languaging and ideas around how we can actually develop a better sales process when we're face-to-face. All those things can be role-played. All those things can still be done on Zoom. So they're processes that provide innovation to what we're doing when we come out of this.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's really good. And it's given me a framework. And maybe for our viewers, they can look at creating their own framework and check in with you if there's an opportunity to refine that. Fantastic. Brad at Brad Tonini. Clifton, let's move to you now in terms of you're helping people identify who they are and what they actually do. And we don't know sometimes what we're doing anymore in terms of being introduced, because we're not in an office environment now, so we're being introduced online, or we're being introduced to virtual networks like this. So what would you say is a creative way in which we can really leverage our smarts and the integrity of what we're doing?
Well, the good news is the basics haven't changed. It's just the medium that we deliver the basics to, virtual versus face-to-face. But the one thing that we do need, as always, is a core marketing message. And that core marketing message is evolving now. You know, people are, as Brad's outlined, working from home for the first time. They're facing different issues. So we might need to adjust our core marketing message, which is really just a part of our value proposition, so that we appeal to a wide section of the marketplace as possible, whatever your niche markets may be. And a good way to look at that, there's actually 4 ways to speak about what you do. When someone asks you, what do you do? You know, the first and most common way and common mistake people make is they just state their job title. I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a dentist. And whilst that's true, the problem is that you're doing yourself and that person a disservice, because they might actually need your services, but they don't really quite understand what you do. The second mistake we make is that we talk about our processes. I help people optimize their risk. What the heck is that? What's in it for the customer? And so we leave that off, and we have to speak in their language. The second best way to speak about what you do. So label and processes are really poor ways to address what you do when asked what you do when you're talking to the marketplace. The best way is to firstly talk about your solutions. I help contractors improve their cash flow. It is a very targeted and a very defined message. And what's even better is talk about their problems. I help contractors improve their cash flow and grow their bottom line, or help dentists who are struggling with attracting new clients. So you want to talk about their problems and things they're struggling with. And if we're able to put our message into solution and problem format, we can cater to for a lot wider of our marketplace. The good news is that in this marketplace, it gives you versatility. So if you're just talking about problems and solutions, you can tailor those on the spot to speak to someone. So in other words, as Brad was outlining, it makes it very easy to have a wide variety of conversations.
So Clifton, if I could ask you now, what do you do making it relevant to COVID-19 and the situation that we're in now, what would you reply to me? I'm curious to know.
Okay, I help professionals who are struggling during this crisis to maximize their productivity and to make sure that they come out the other end of this very strong and with a healthy business.
Okay, so you really did make it about tapping into a pain point for me, didn't you? Helping me come out the other end. And I love what you've done, because you've flipped it from traditionally where people have spoken a lot about themselves in their elevator pitch or whatever you want to call it, to now really just I help, and then it's over to the other party.
Yeah, it's about the issues, problems, and challenges, things that they're facing. You got to be able to tune into them and articulate it so that you can match your needs to their problems and challenges.
Yeah, and I also like your tone. I think I want to pick up on your tone, because I don't get a sense that you're forcing this on me. I'm hearing you in a conversational way, and it's very easy to go, oh, okay. I don't feel there's a push behind it. So tell me a little bit about your own style, and how that needs to be focused on when we're talking to others.
Let me give you a simple formula. And this is something I recently learned, and I've been helping clients with it with great results. We talk about a value proposition. One good way to package it up, when someone says, what do? Just say, I'm the guy you call when you're struggling with X. In my case, I'm the guy you call when you're struggling with growth and retaining your clients. I'm the guy you call when you're trouble with communicating to your marketplace and so forth. So that's a nice little simple way to state what you do, but package up their issues and problems, and it's flexible.
Great, thank you. So Tom, you're the sort of guy that we would go to when
you're having problems with working effectively across cultures.
Well, great. Okay, good pickup. Pass. That's lovely. Okay, so how do you do that?
How do we do that? We do that by really talking. I want to actually talk about biases in this extract, and I want to when we talked about creativity, I love the fact we introduced creativity and how Brad had talked about we're working from home, how we need to be really thinking about marketing with Clifton. So I want to talk about biases, because biases are patterns of thinking. And for us to be creative, we need to actually just break out of our patterns. And the topic was actually prompted by an old client of mine who called me early last week. He has just joined a new team, a leadership team, and in the previous organization where he had been, I had spent a lot of time working with them on unconscious biases in decision making. So he called me because with the new team he had joined, he said, gosh, Tom, I'm amazed at the number of biases that are existing in their decision-making processes.
Can you give me an example?
How do I raise it with them? How do I challenge them? because I'm the new person on the block, I'm the new person on the team, and I just got to work out how things, the lay of the land, but how do I kind of challenge it? So that was a great question, great observation. So before we kind of talk about what were some things he could do, let's just take a moment and think about, well, what's a bias, right? So a bias is actually a preference based on assumptions, stereotypes, thinking, upbringing, culture, and we're all biased, right? I'm biased. All of us here are biased, and everyone's biased. Biases are really necessary because they help us navigate life.
Can I just ask you, are biases the same as blind spots? Because I hear the word often, blind spots, and I know we've got, they say about 150 or 120 blind spots, and I think I wouldn't have that many, maybe some, but you know, how many, is it the same?
Yeah, so blind spots would be the unconscious biases, right? They're the things that we don't see. So some of our biases, we are conscious,
Yeah.
they're explicit. We may have a bias towards a certain type of food or certain type of car brands, as I know Brad does. But, you know, a lot of our biases are unconscious. We don't even know. So they get in the way of us when we're making decisions. So we have patterns of thinking that we follow a certain pathway. Now, in times of anxiety, as a lot of people are in now, where there's uncertainty, not quite sure how do we navigate our way through this, as human beings, we go through either we fight the situation, or we run away from it, or we freeze. But we're all having to make choices. We're all having to make decisions. Now, if we are not careful, we'll just revert to our old pattern of thinking. And we'll just make decisions because that's the way we've always made decisions. So for us to be creative in this new arena, we want to be looking at how do I, in fact, think about things differently? If I want to be creative, how do I get more creative? And a great way to do that is actually get someone to be a sounding board for you. Talk your decision with them. So get a coach, get a mentor, call one of us. Yeah. Have a conversation with us, right? Yeah. You know, because we all have different areas of specialty. So if the decision has something to do with marketing, well, call Clifton, right? If it's something to do with sales, call Brad. If it's something to do with efficiency, call Ray. If it's to do with emceeing, presenting, call you, right? Diversity, call me. So, you know, all of us are doing this because we are there to serve our clients. Yeah, exactly. As Brad said. So let me wrap this up by saying, what did I suggest to my client who approached me? I said, talk to the team from a space of curiosity. So say things like, I'm really curious, how did you come about with that decision? What were the factors that influenced it? Why are you looking at that individual for that role? So, you know, coming from a space of, I'm curious, I want to know what was the decision-making process, because what you will then get people to do is actually articulate their decision-making processes.
Yes, you're giving
as
people
most of us know, when we tend to articulate something, that's when the gaps will appear, right? Or someone will say, well, did you consider that? Or have you thought about this?
Yeah, you've given people permission to think a little bit differently without feeling as though there'll be a negative consequence, because now is the time when we are more forgiving. We're more forgiving as we all dive into digital learning together. We're more accepting of trying things in a different way. And I loved your word about curiosity. I had a client who used to use the words, I need to become insatiably curious if I'm going to leverage in my career. So we worked together for about a year and a half on how to develop insatiable curiosity and the questions to accompany that. So, and with that, Tom, I think it just goes right back to your point about biases, because when you're curious and you ask about people and you ask about backgrounds and you ask about their belief system, it dispels the ignorance, or it shakes up what actually is truth versus what you may have been led to believe through through other people's biases on you and the influences on you. So that's really beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So Ray, let me come to you, because we've talked about branding ourselves and who we are and the impact that we have. We've talked about cultural awareness and our diversity, the diversity of thinking to start with. Brad's talked to us about reconnecting and relationships and the importance of just being ourselves and going back to building rapport with people in an authentic way. And you've got a very business focused slant, so like you're laser focused on efficiency and laser focused on being able to drive to performance and get things out of the way that are not working. Where can we go wrong while we're in this phase of embracement? And do we have to be careful right now to avoid getting caught up in an imbalance between informality and structure?
I think one of the things I've become critically aware of over the last number of weeks is particularly in the area of strategy and decision making, picking up a little bit on what Tom said, is that things are changing rapidly. You know, it can be hour by hour, day by day, week by week. And we don't have time to tuck ourselves away in boardrooms for days and weeks on end to design new strategies and do analysis, because we come out of the boardroom and the whole world's potentially changed again.
True.
And so, I'm pretty practical, and I like helping clients and people get to root causes quickly. So what I'd like to do, if I may, is just share my screen with you. It's an impact meter that I've created for my clients.
Thank you.
Just let me know if I share the wrong screen. So you've got the impact meter there?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So I designed this as a way that it would sort through the confusion and all the different things that are happening in somebody's life and their business, to be able to, within the space of a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, be able to assess the impact in different areas of their business. This can be used across a business, across a management team and the people, across somebody's personal world. And you'll notice that it swings from positive through to maximum negative territory. So this is a client I worked with yesterday. In about 20 minutes, we worked through this process and discovered that his people broadly the last 4 weeks have had a slight impact. They're just not as bouncy as they were, as vibrant as they once were. Financial, it's a slight impact at the moment, and sales is actually very positive. Lots of work on. But that could go south very quickly because, again, things are changing. Jobs are being pulled. And so I've indicated those in red for him because those three areas could slide into maximum negative territory very quickly. His management team, they're at war this week. There's a lot of conflict in management team, but I've highlighted that in green because they're good guys. He needs to get in touch with them, connect with them, talk through communication, and they'll rebound no problem at all. So we've defined some key actions for him, prioritized them, and it just helps get him focused on what he needs to do today.
Can you give me an example of the type of action that you would recommend for someone who's got a team who are perhaps roadblocking each other or under crisis now?
Well, the management team is a classic. I've encouraged him just to get them together because things are changing so rapidly. He's taken Commander General stance and has an issue with overriding their authority. So he's got to pull back into the lines and also communicate that to the broader team, that they keep communication open. So for them, it's a simple meeting, an open meeting to start with, and then on a regular basis to be, again, keep communication flows open.
Okay, so what I like about this, you can actually, on the left-hand column, you've got people, financial, sales, management, culture. Based on what we've been talking about today, we can actually, with your permission, in a sense, put people and sales, you've got sales in there and culture in there as well, and just work and ensure that we keep track of how we're going ourselves as leaders in business.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's a good mechanism, not just for yourself, but for your team, and then to reflect back and do a bit of a 360 on how it's going, and maybe get others in the team to do a view on where they're seeing it. Because from our perspective, and what Tom was saying, we could get stuck in our own views. Yeah. How often do you ask the teams to reflect, to reconsider perhaps the leader's perspective of view? Is that something you would actually discuss with your the people that you work with?
Yeah, just on a regular basis. I like the whole thing of open communication. Yeah. And oftentimes I will incorporate 360s, obviously getting permission from the business owner. It defines how secure they are when I interview their team and get their feedback. But in a lot of the coaching I'm doing at the moment, I'm able to feed back directly and very quickly to the business owners, executives, how their teams are doing. I think that's critical. I've actually made that matrix, the impact meter, available as a download on my website, which is rayhodge.com.au in the templates and tools section. But that's available for anyone who wants it.
Thank you. Fantastic. So if I appreciate everybody's insights, and what we've tried to do in our conversation with you today is give you some ideas to focus on, some things to consider, and maybe one or two to apply today, because we always know that the best learning comes from immediate implementation. We've probably all got lots of notes that we've taken along the years in our work, but there's only one or two that really come up quickly for you. And I'd like you to think about the value of the idea, and in closing with you today, the value of the ideas that you take away. Whatever your idea is that you take away, however creative you think it is, just put a $ next to it and say, if I was to do this, what would the dollar value be, the return to my business or to the business that I'm working in? And is it going to be worth the effort for me right now? Because it's very easy to pick up all new ideas and tips and say, oh, that's great. But I think we need to resist the temptation to pick up something and run with it till we understand, does it have a fundamental value? Now, that dollar value, you can look at it literally in dollars and cents, but you might also like to look at what is the value back for you personally, and does it really equip you with a feeling of purpose and vigor and passion for the work you do. I hope it does. I hope you've taken away something wonderful. We look forward to hearing from you individually or collectively, and look forward to creating another powerful 30 minutes for you going forward. Take care, be well, and be safe.